Greetings and welcome back, everyone, to Into the Nexus, the podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. I am an overdressed Garrett Weinzierl, joined by the photograph but the living voice of Kyle Fergusson.
Into the Nexus on the road edition.
Yes, on the road again. On the road nonstop is actually more apt, considering how my month is going. I'm in North Carolina right now, Kyle.
How is North Carolina?
The weather is amazing. It's currently, this is like it seems like the most mundane thing in the world. It's currently 60 degrees outside. Back home, it is currently 89, and I don't even want to look at what the humidity is back in Florida.
Florida. Good stuff, that.
Just on brand. On brand. Florida is tracking.
There's also no live stream today, so we're just like hanging out. We can do anything we want. We don't have anyone responding to us.
We can, but we won't. We're gonna do a show pretty much as normal. Yeah. I'm on a significantly less expensive microphone with significantly less fancy hardware. But we're doing an episode of Into the Nexus because, Kyle, a patch has hit the game. There are things to talk about, even though I myself haven't had a lot of seat time with Heroes of the Storm this week. That being said, I would like to throw to you, the man who has had some seat time with Heroes of the Storm this week, and ask you just generally, before we get into the nitty-gritty patch notes, how are things in the Nexus? How was, have you been Storm Leaguing, quick matching, all of the above?
I have, yeah. I'm battling it out in Diamond 1. The matchmaker has been improved, according to a blue post, and I'm feeling it. I mean, granted, it was kind of flattering. I've been the only Diamond 1 in all Masters games, but there haven't been many plats throwing wrenches in the Grandmaster schemes. Things have been really solid, and I'm just having an awesome time because I really feel like I've landed on Mal'Ganis as a solid tank pickup. I've got my Johanna, but I really don't like Johanna on Towers of Doom, on Braxis, on what's another one? I'm okay with her on Volskaya, but it's not my favorite. So with Stitches in tow, I feel like I have a nice array of very, very different heroes to play. And being with the Masters players, there's a lot of tank mains who are doing ETCs and stuff like that. So I've been playing a lot of Thrall again in the solo lane.
Nice.
And while it might freak them out a little bit that they're like, oh God, our solo lane is the lowest league person on the team. What are we going to do? It's just kind of nice down there. I'm holding it, doing great, freezing my lane, not getting too aggressive. This week, I even fought an Uther in my solo lane who went with his I take damage, get stacks to reduce my mana cost, level 1 talent for a Q build, and I just didn't touch him the whole lane. I felt like a badass, even though I lost, quote unquote, the lane, and it probably, to lesser skilled eyes, would look awful with what I was doing. But actually, it was exactly what I should be doing, and that Uther suffered for the late game because of it.
Man, I will tell you, if you want to find your zen in Heroes of the Storm, learn how to solo lane.
It's nice.
That's where things almost always make sense. If you're looking for consistency in Heroes of the Storm, the solo lane is where you will find it.
That's also where I expect the big BlizzCon December patch to be, though. That's the place to mess with.
That's fine. I can roll with that. We've been through how many different ways that they're going to affect lane XP. We always come back around to understanding it, to figuring it out, to finding the new way to tend to our solo lane garden. It's good stuff.
I'm curious about it. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Because it seems like, we've had a lot of talk about regen globes, right? And it makes me wonder: is it like a jangling of the keys of, oh hey, look at this kind of more minor thing that we're probably going to mess with, and then bam, surprise! Here's all this other these bigger, more sweeping changes once again to the XP gaining game. That are going to affect the solo lane? Or is it really just going to be affecting regen globes?
That is an interesting question, and I would tinfoil it a little bit with this week's release of the Mastery rings.
How so?
Well, Mastery rings we'll get into exactly what they are and how to get them in a moment, but they're not exactly sexy. They're not a BlizzCon announcement. It is something for your longtime players to go in and gold sync their gold away. And if you get up on stage and you're like, hey, mastery rings flying at the screen, you're not going to get a big huzzah from people who currently aren't playing Heroes of the Storm. And I think if they get up there and go, hey, we're messing with regen globes, that's not the huzzah either. So I highly doubt that would be the only update. Because as many people have pointed out, the game right now is so much more dynamic than it's ever been. And I feel like ever was throughout HGC. The options for solo lane, the strategies we employ, even things like rotations, merc camps, are maybe even more solid by like a game understanding cultural sense than they ever were during HGC, which is weird. You would think HGC would have this kind of trickle-downy sort of education thing. But people have discovered in their own games how to do these things their own way and don't just dismiss them as pro strats.
Right. That was when HGC was in full swing. Every week we would get on the show and talk about what are they doing in the pro games and how much of that doesn't apply to your at-home games because you're not coordinated not coordinated enough to pull it off because you're with 4 random strangers or 3 random strangers or 2 random strangers, 1 random stranger, so on and so forth.
It's almost like we were getting bad information that would conflict with the functional information in real Storm League, Hero League at the time. And our game knowledge is just overall healthier right now. How crazy would it be if there is a tournament, is something sponsored by Blizzard, is something announced, because this game would just be that much more interesting to watch than it ever was during the watchable time. It's a fascinating paradox, if you will, that watchability made it less watchable.
Yeah. So you think if there's going to be a regen globe change, it's going to happen before BlizzCon, or it's going to just be like a little bullet point?
I think it'll be a bullet
we're out of time, dude.
Yeah.
There's no time for a Heroes patch before BlizzCon.
Yeah, I mean, granted, normally this time of year, we'd be sitting around going, okay, balance is locked in. Nobody touch anything. This has to be what the pro player is going to play. Remember, too, over the course of the year, there was always the same swing in the past for HGC. We'd go throughout the year and they'd buff and buff and buff globals, and they'd mess with globals because the pro players wouldn't stop using globals. Like, to have a year off from, and I know I'm being positive here, so, go with me, everyone, because I know we're saying, hey, it's hurrah, HGC's gone. Like, no, but the fact that we didn't screw around with globals for a whole year, slowly buff them into absurdity, just so we can once again December go, and globals are dead, everyone's dead. Ban those things because now we can finally mess with the pro scene again. Our balance has been actually in motion. We're going to talk about Diablo today. Getting a buff.
A buff, Kyle. Yes, we are. It's there's a lot to talk about. So let's get into it. Before we do, we want to thank those of you that are supporting us. The show is free. Always going to be free. But if you like what we're doing here on Into the Nexus and you want to support the show, we have a Patreon, and that is the best way to support us. So you should head on over to patreon.com/ITN right now and chip in $1, chip in $5, whatever works for you. Every bit helps, and we very much appreciate it. So with that in mind, to some of our most recent patrons, Will S., Marcus L., and Brian D., thank you very much for supporting Into the Nexus. We very much appreciate it. And we've got plenty of perks over there for them, Kyle.
You should definitely be a part of the Discord. We did some bonanza games last week, had ourselves a lovely bush party. We got to experience some stomps. We got stomped a little bit too.
Oh, we did. But we ended in the green, right? We went 3-2, or did we go
I think it was 2-3. But
was it 2-3? Okay.
The final game of the night, we won. The screw around quick match, we won that. So it was 3-3 in the end.
Well, whatever it was, I was so tired that night that any wins picked up was a win for me. I thought we were going 0-5 that night is what I was trying to say, Kyle. I was very, very sleepy.
Well, that very first game was versus that Master Valera, and I've never seen such a Valera in my life. She pre-popped Cloak of Shadows for every CC there was. It was insane.
That was the impressive loss. And then we lost to a Varian, and, well, you all know my opinion on that.
Yeah. What's that? That was Medivh, Zarya, Fury, Varian.
Yes.
Like, we had Rainbow League. We don't cut these up and be like, okay, well, we're going to make sure that this is the, Masters game. This is the gold game. Like, no, we had a full array of leagues in our game. And the proper way to beat Zarya, Medivh, Fury, Varian, Anduin, no less, is to be like, okay, he's got a shield, switch. Okay, he's got a shield, switch. And you just bounce around to different targets. It's a bit hard to do.
That's like the one game where I would kind of consider overdrafting Sustain. Because you're just going to run out of mana.
Yeah.
You're going to run out of cooldowns. You're going to run out of mana. It's just like, I don't know, get a Vala and a Raynor and a Zul'jin and just have them constantly target switch.
Yeah, it's rough. Because then you don't have the burst to take out the target you switch to. And then they all end up changing their targets again. So
Yeah. Although, I mean, if you land your Hungering Arrow, you land your multi-shot, you land your Raynor Q, you land your axe, your circular axes on the Zul'jin. If y'all hit your target, that's a decent amount of damage.
It's just interesting that comp in particular, for anyone who's curious and might want to run it out there, is really tough to deal with if you're not dealing with coordinated people. It doesn't really work out in my solo league just because the enemy team's not coordinated, so we don't have to be coordinated, but that's a rough stack. And I'm seeing more and more anecdotally solo tank Zaryas, and it's powerful.
The shield brings it brings such a large monkey wrench to the equation. And outside of those refined team compositions, we still, you still only see so many shield wielding heroes. Like, yes, we have Medivh, yes, we have Tassadar, we have Zarya, and even to some degree, the invincibility of a Varian player. We're used to fighting it, but I still don't see it frequently enough to be well versed in it. And God, like we saw last week, just what do you do when you stack these shields?
Yeah. Feels like we got into a place where you can see the Uther off tank or main tank coming, but seeing a Zarya just doesn't make my brain go, oh, that's it for the front line.
Very fair. Oh yeah, we have totally arrived at Tank Uther world. I think we're all ready for it. We've all played against it. It's not a surprise.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's get into this week's news. I don't have bumpers this week, so sorry everybody who gets pumped for the bumpers. I include myself among them, but I don't have a soundboard with me. So let's just get right into it with a quick follow-up on the anger directed at Blizzard and starting to spread to any and all companies that do business with China. Last week, you and I, Kyle, talked about Blizzard banning Blitzchung for his pro-Hong Kong statements on a professional Hearthstone stream, and that they suspended him for 12 months, took his winnings away, also fired the two casters that were involved in the incident, and that everyone was mad, even typically level-headed online folk when it comes to covering Blizzard were not having it. All of us collectively went, hold the damn phone, that seems a little much. And
they agreed. A little much.
Yes.
Not a lot much.
In true Jalen Brack form, we mostly got what we wanted, and yet by reading the letter felt like we were still eating like a shit pie. That man crafts that dude crafts the worst letters ever. I am sure it's not just him, but dear God, we've had 3 in memory now. 1 for the cancellation of HGC, 1 for the 800 plus layoffs earlier this year, and now 1 to walk back to actually give the community what they were clamoring for, and we still read the letter and went, what a jerk.
It's weird. It does stink of a man who is trying his hardest to not say I'm sorry or apologize in any way. Like, they're like, you need to get on the horn and just let people know that we're sorry. He's like, all right, I'll do that, but I'm not going to say I'm sorry because it wasn't my fault. Maybe that's the philosophy.
It reeks of it. Just like it's just insincere. Because the place my brain goes is, oh, well, I'm fairly certain that the Chinese arm of Blizzard that runs like the APAC region and the tournaments over in the Asian region, they were probably, like specifically their Chinese team, were probably the ones that brought down the hammer so quickly, that made the Weibo statement that wasn't even addressed in the letter and people are still mad about. Like, I see that as very plausible, that it was one hand of Blizzard not talking to the other. So basically Chinese Blizzard not talking to Western Blizzard, and Western Blizzard spent the 5 days of silence trying to figure out how to pick up the pieces without throwing the other hand under the bus. And so what we ended up with is a letter that just feels hollow.
There's also some, oddities about it. I've seen some studies, if you will. And maybe we'll call, in this case, Ancient Aliens a study, but...
Are you talking about the people that were saying that it was written almost in a Chinese dialect in the formatting of the lettering? Or the
Exactly. And these
that is
quoted, indented paragraphs were...
That is the most insane tinfoil hat. Like, if you want to get in the weeds, man, we can go there, but I think that's reaching.
I mean, and the pyramids might be engines, like whatever. It was a fascinating read, though, and I do think that he had to include a lot of this rule language in order to get their point across, so that when they did reduce the sentence down to 6 months and give him back his winnings, and Caster is suspended for 6 months as well, we understood why that happened with the rules. That didn't mean we liked it. And then on top of it, you had Epic coming out saying, well, we'd never do anything like that. And Riot, who is being celebrated to the moon and back this week for releasing or announcing new games, just straight up told all their casters and players, avoid political topics and statements. Do not bring them up at all.
Translation, please don't Blitzchung us.
Pretty much. We don't want to be a part of this current event.
And I want to be clear, like, I completely understand wanting to keep political discussion out of it. I get that. Like, where do you draw the line? Like, where is the happy medium between some political discourse and every single post-game interview being used for a soapbox? Like, right. I want to hear the players talk about the game that they just played, maybe even glean something and build on the storyline of the esport itself. That's the whole reason that those interviews are there in the first place. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. That's the goal of those interviews. At the same time, I don't know, like, this has just been in a weird roundabout way, kind of refreshing. It's been nice to see so many people kind of agree on a quote unquote political issue. Like, I think a lot of us feel for Blitzchung. A lot of us are mad at Blizzard because we stand with Blitzchung. I think we look at what he did, because in multiple statements, in interviews with multiple websites, and his own statement himself that he put on his Twitlonger, he said he was pretty sure he was going to get whacked for this. And so what he did, it was super brave, man. Like, it's just like and by getting punished, it brought so much more attention to the issue of what's going on in Hong Kong than I think if Blizzard had taken any other action. Like, if they had just tried to sweep it under the rug, not punish him at all, I don't think it would have gotten nearly as much play.
No. And in that way, his statement was that much more powerful.
Yeah, and I'm not writing off Blizzard like, oh, it's a good thing they did this because then they got more public. No, I still think what they did was really heavy-handed and clearly, I think they came around and somewhat agreed with that since they rolled this back so much. But still, a lot of people mad, a lot of protests still being planned for BlizzCon. Blizzard canceled their Overwatch Nintendo Switch event at the Nintendo store in New York City. And we also had the 3 collegiate Hearthstone players on that team kind of after the fact banned for holding up a free Hong Kong sign now 2 weeks ago almost. It was last week.
Yeah.
It's been a ride, and we're not off it yet.
No, but also, as you said, they've provided a stage for this to receive a lot of attention. And they're going to have a hard time stopping that message from going out through their channels because they gave it the attention it did. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I've been talking about on basically like every show I'm on, is that like if you are Blizzard and you want to have a community, which clearly they do because they've spent over a decade fostering that community, building that community, speaking with that community, this is the opposite side of the pendulum. I mean, we've seen it over and over with Blizzard. There's been they're far from free of controversy, but this reached a new level. So we'll continue reporting as it develops. So
exactly.
Let's get into
it'll only get more interesting as Blizzard, enters BlizzCon and they announce new games. All gamers will have choices to make at that time. Right now, our choices for the year have been straight up bizarre. I saw an ad on the side of my screen that said, "Game of the Year, can't miss it, Warcraft Classic." So, well, maybe not this year, but yeah, it is a game of a year. And then I'm also seeing a bunch of models, and I'm trying to avoid them because models are spoilers. Because, you build your unit and it walks out, and you're like, oh, wow, that's handsome. I'm seeing all this hype starting to build about Reforged. And I'm kind of thinking to myself, like, wow, Reforged, I'll be bad at it. Other people will be bad at it. I can do some laddering. Wouldn't that be fun? Wait, do we need to make choices here about how we support and spend our money?
Yeah. I mean, you should, one way or the other. And people are. So, anyways, let's move on to something that I don't think is quite a palate cleanser because I think it's kind of lame. Mastery rings, Kyle. Let's talk about Heroes of the Storm specifically. So mastery rings, as you kind of alluded to it at the front, have been added with the patch that we're going to talk about today. And there are ways to dress up the circle underneath your hero. You're going to be able to spend 5,000 gold to purchase an augmented hero ring for any hero over the levels of 15. And then there's an additional mastery ring you can get if you're over level 25.
All right.
These, as you said, are not. You said it was like, what'd you say? It wasn't a sexy BlizzCon reveal. Me,
no.
Yeah, this is just like so functional. Like if I don't know, like you're going out like to a nice event or something. Like this isn't your nice suit. This is the undershirt to keep your dress shirt clean, like less sweaty. If you're doing something sexy, this isn't your nice underwear. This is your like work whitey tighties.
I'd say it's like a belt. You'll be okay without a belt. If you're tucking in your shirt, you might want a belt. It kind of completes the ensemble. It's not going to make or break your night.
There's also suspenders are also an option, Kyle.
Okay, yeah, suspenders are pretty nice. I like, if you're going suspenders, you've got a lot of downward arrows. You should go with a bow tie if you're going to go that far.
Break up the verticality with some horizontal.
Yeah.
Nice. We're getting lost in our analogies here, but yeah. Not the most exciting thing for me. This is not the kind of thing I'm going to be like, oh my God, I need mastery rings and I need them now.
The hilarious thing to me was this idea that rolled across the internet that equipping your master's ring is a detriment to your play, that you are giving away your hitbox to the enemy because it's now flashing gold and they'll be able to hit their skill shots better. I gotta say, to anyone concerned about that, you should be hitting your skill shots anyway. What the heck? Those are very, very important. If this is what like tips you over the top, like maybe on like Asmodan and Uberak, where the legs kind of go out and now you see that hitbox is slightly larger, but it was always there. What were you doing? And if you climb dramatically out of this, let me hear about it, because that'd be amazing.
I think we're going to be okay, Kyle. I don't think mastery rings are going to break the game.
Well, these are right now open to feedback. The reason why you can only purchase a level 15 and a level 25, so 2 levels of the ring, where there's plenty of room for more little dashes and gold shinies and whatnot they could add to these, is because they want to know if you like them or not. It is obviously a gold sink and it is very expensive. You buy a mastery ring per those steps per hero. So I went through 25,000 gold getting it on my Tychus just for old time's sake, getting my Joanna all, gussied up, and then I put one on Diablo just to see what it looked like at level 1. That's a lot of gold to go through. And they're increasing their chances that they'll get real money from me come the next hero drop.
Yeah. I'll tell you that they're not increasing their chances of getting real money from me. I'm not rushing out for these.
Honestly, I saw one per game, and I was wearing one in my Johanna games. So they're not extremely popular. You have to go to the quick match screen to get them. So you sort of go to quick match, click on the hero you want, and then above them will be the purchase that's not in your account. It's not available in your draft screen at all. So, if you like it, do it. No one's going to troll you.
Oh,
There's no visual in the draft screen either.
It's not a big deal for me either way. And listen, I mean, really, the reason I'm not so excited about it is because, to me, Heroes of the Storm is a game with... It's just oozing awesome, cool, sexy things that I want to buy. Like, down to emojis are just so well done in this game. This is such an art-rich game in terms of what you can collect. That, to me, this is the one. This is like the lowest tier of I don't need it. Like, there's still probably 20 more mounts I want first. Endless sprays I want before this. Emojis that I want before this. Because Heroes makes so many things that are so rad. And so a ring is just like, yeah, okay, cool. It's another thing. Maybe I'll get one day.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think it's hurting anybody. It was a great time to announce this. I'm curious to see what level 100 looks like, how loud we can get with these things. Bring it on. Why not? One more thing.
100, it should just become your hero. Your hero is now just a ring that's like animated and spinning constantly.
No, okay.
I am now just a fidget spinner, Kyle.
There's been some call out that maybe these rings should augment your B step, make your B step a little more shiny, louder.
Okay, you've got my attention.
Because what are you doing with your taunt but being a little rude? So why don't we take all this mastery stuff tied to level and, put it on the B step?
I like that idea a lot, actually. And, I only B step really in our Patron Bonanza games because sometimes we just dominate. And you just got that, you got that itch. You're like, I'm going to dump.
Yeah, I mean, if like you're solo laning versus Stitches and he's B-stepping, you're going to B-step because what are you doing in the solo lane, bro? Like, how did you get here? What do you think you're accomplishing? I can play this game too.
Yeah, it was the game we played last week in the Bonanza games where I was main tanking on Uther.
Yeah.
At the very beginning of the game, the opponents were like spraying constantly, constant sprays. So when we completely locked them out of doing anything, and folks, this had to have been one of our most dominant games in the history of Patron Bonanzas. I was like, oh, how do those sprays feel now? And I was just B-stepping my Uther ass all over the battleground. It was fantastic.
It's fair, man.
Had a good
Body couldn't cash.
Yep. No, it couldn't. All right, were you ready to talk about buffs, nerfs, and how heroes have been adjusted in this patch?
Bring it on.
All right, so Diablo is up first. We're going to start with buffs, by the way. Yes, you heard correctly. Diablo is getting a buff, and per the developer's comment, Diablo is, in their words, surprisingly, one of the lowest winning heroes in the game. You were talking about what we learned and maybe should not have learned from HGC back in the game, and I think Diablo is one of the biggest errors we ever took home from HGC.
This is where we rip the numbers off the wall, number of episodes without complaining about Diablo. Okay, reset the clock. Sorry, everybody, we're back to it.
I've come back. I've come around. I have had. When you build Diablo correctly, I like playing with the Diablo. I've had some really good games alongside of Diablo the past 2 months. But you made me think of it. And what's that?
What's correct?
Well, like going like lightning breath. Like when people started taking lightning breath again, and playing him as a tank that still has that kind of like shot call, one shot, one kill potential, but there's just more abilities for him to contribute to a fight outside of a slam combo. So, But whatever the case is, a lot of folks still just still going all in on that combo, and if it doesn't work, the win rate drops.
It's a little sad.
Yes, yeah. So even though I myself have come around really healthily on Diablo, win rate still really low. So they are trying to make them a little more powerful with a rather substantial base health increase. We're going from 26 and change up to 28 and change.
This means that with your Black Soul now reduced down to 0.3 health per soul, as long as you're below 75 souls, you have more health than you previously did. So Diablo out of the gate just has a better health presence, which is really nice.
It takes away the how weighted that seesaw was.
Yeah.
With for a Diablo with his souls up and a Diablo that just cashed them all in. Because when we've all been there, when that Diablo comes back with no souls, you're like, get him. And you just send him right back to the grave.
Right. We're winning the game now. Their big advantage is gone. Let's all pile on Diablo.
Yeah.
And with this, they're reducing the mana cost of Apocalypse because it has a 5% lower win rate in their own words. The problem is that we are all going Flame Stomp build, and that just gels so wonderfully with your Lightning Breath. And I'm not sure this mana reduction will bring us all charging back in, if you will, on the Q build.
I don't really want it to, so I'm okay with that.
Right, not until we're getting deletes again. The interesting thing is that Medivh is often picked as a Diablo counter. So you counter the counter by avoiding doing the Q build. And Diablo now has room to wiggle against Medivh. Now, Medivh has a really low win rate, and traditionally has been one of the lower win rate heroes across the length of his release since joining the game. It's getting weird with Diablo, and I'm hoping that this health alone allows him to, one, stay in the fight for longer. If you're just sitting on more health and you have a larger percent of health when you do Life Leech on level 4, is that now a better talent? You get 1 soul, you heal for 1.5 of your maximum health, you have more health when you're low to stay in there and auto attack longer, which could mean we go to Diabolic Momentum, which means we go to Devastate Charge, and maybe something as simple as this works us back into Q-Town without the deletes.
Maybe it does. But I am fine with Q-Town being a thing that's still around. It still might happen with the right comp, or more specifically, something that happens more often in a 5-stack.
Yeah,
I kind of like where it's ended up. And they even kind of talk about it. I mean, that's why we're seeing Apocalypse get the mana cost cut in half. And it's in the dev comments. They're like, we're looking at this. Apocalypse is picked significantly more, but it has a noticeably lower win rate. So we're trying to help it out. So I like what I'm seeing here with Diablo. I think these are interesting changes.
Yeah, the health of it, pun intended, is so cool because he's in a draft counterable place. And when you see a Diablo and you see the Tyrande or even a Jaina, whatever's going to follow up the Diablo, you can then counter build against it very easily. It's not like that Zarya situation with Fury Varian we were talking about earlier, where you're like, what's the front line? What am I looking at? Oh, they picked an early Uther. I guess they'll have a second support. What's going to happen here? No, if you see Diablo, you know there's going to be a follow-up, or they've messed up really bad. And they've done, I've been there tanking Diablo 4 backline, and it is tiring.
Yeah. Well, Kyle, do you have a good impression of a drum roll? Can I get a drum roll from you, Kyle?
There you go.
Artanis's Purifier Beam has had the movement speed increase from 3 to 3.2.
Hey now, that's all right. And your level 20 does increase it by 15%, so it doesn't grow by a flat amount. It grows by percent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's decent. We're getting there.
It took a while. It should be somewhat minute, correct? I mean,
Yeah.
It was only, although it should technically be like a 3.3, right? Because the movement speed change was 10% flat across the board, so it should be a 3.3. But I don't know. I are they putting too much stock into the target purified?
Your level 20 is what gives you the 15% in order to reach and just over it a little bit by 0.44 that current movement speed. So you are beating it. It does catch up unless they use some sort of ability. Targeted Purifier is wicked cute against all these Junkrats we're playing against right now, particularly when they're going tire. Go and drop that on them. Ana doesn't have the presence she used to. So honestly, in my opinion, the reason why at the beginning of the year I was rocking Artanis is because we were in Ana Town non-stop. And nobody yet was turning off their aim down sights when they walked around. And Purifier level 20 reset always got the kill on Ana and always reset. It was amazing. Does Junkrat give us that ability? Well, only if he's in tire. The second he notices, he'll bomb himself away. We don't really have a place right now for targeted Purifier to be rocking it. So it's nice it got a buff. You should probably be going blind.
I dig. Deckard is once again back in the buff lane. The developers saying that he's still lagging behind his other healer friends, but they don't want to just push his numbers even higher. This time they are instead focusing on, in their words, boosting his general usability by making his potions display their impact location before they land and increasing the area in which his trait will function. I cannot express how excited I am about that first one, Kyle. Displaying the landing location of a potion.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah, there's so often where I just get mad at my decker because I feel like they should be a precog from Minority Report and know exactly where I am about to start running before they throw a potion my way. But now I will be able to help Deckard. Now I'm going to stray into Wanted, curve the bullet in my direction.
Right. We come from Stargraph, so the idea of a flying unit with the little tiny, almost invisible arrow pointing downward, and their feet, if you will, are actually here, lower on the screen than up there, but they're flying. It's not the arc in a real-time strategy of a jumping Muradin. It's something our brains have long since compensated for. But this is a nice quality of life change to see where it's going to land. Once it lands, that circle does disappear, and it's just a potion sitting there. The Fortitude of the Faithful is actually a really pleasant change because taking that radius up to 6.5 means that while you're staying in range of your melee, you are out of range of the enemy auto attacks in most cases, being most heroes out of 5.5. So Deckard is actually way safer while still having his armor in the back right now and everything else that comes with it.
This is great. I mean, how many times did not Paradox bring up Anduin's issue of not being where he should be to actually get maximum value out of his trait? And Kyle is walking away. So, hi everyone. How are you?
Pardon me.
No, it's all right. I intentionally got quiet so I can cut it out in the audio podcast. And video version, you just get to see how the sausage is made. Hi. How you doing?
Hi, buddy.
How you doing?
Good family.
So my point was tying this into Paradox's comments about look at Anduin. Here's a healer who does not get maximum value out of his trait because he's constantly standing where he shouldn't.
Exactly.
So still the case for Anduin, but they seem to be taking note of that here with Deckard. It would be nice if this is something that caught on to our other healers, that maybe you should give them the range they need to be standing where they should be standing.
I applaud it. It's really smart. It's like when we have small percents of cooldown reductions that mean we are now comboing things differently. It's just a really smart little update, and I applaud the team for doing it. They also messed with the gems. And anytime you apply any gem to your Herodric Cube, it'll increase the damage of that Herodric Cube pop by 100%. Now, Herodric Cube, you may have fired it in the past and gone, is that it? At 80 damage? Yes, that's it. And it'll now do 100% more damage. It's not the most rocking thing on earth, but it's a nice little addition if you feel like going gem build They also buffed Ruby. And Ruby is something that I have always really, really liked the idea of. This is the gem. You throw it in, and it spawns lesser healing potions for each hero hit. And then they get healed those last 10 seconds. Cooldown's been reduced to 20 seconds. So we're getting more in line with our cooldown on our Herodric Cube of 12 seconds. The problem with Ruby is still the problem it's always had, that it poops them all over the place. And you can either throw a improved potion right here, so Thrall, when he's running backwards, has to deviate slightly to grab it, or Thrall, while running away, has to stop and go and clean the room of tiny potions before he can run away. And it's and I've come up with an idea that I would love to see.
Overdraft melee on Volskaya?
Oh, that could work. If we're all swarming around the enemy, this could be okay, but that's still not controlled, and you should probably be aiming a preferred, either mana potion or shield potion at the correct target. What I'd like to see is let's say a second stage fire like rocket launcher sort of effect. When this hits, it explodes out towards you shotgun style on impact. So the potions are on your half of the screen rather than embedded all over the fight.
But if you're getting flanked, your side of the screen becomes the direction of the enemy's side of the map.
Well, you'd be getting attacked backwards there, right? And then they'd fire towards you.
So what is its anchor point? Is it the position of the Deckard?
Yes.
Okay, in that case, yeah, I'm all for it. Because then it's intelligent. I thought you just meant like you spawn left side, it always fires left.
Oh, no, that'd be weird. Yeah, no, that's not my idea at all.
Okay, I misunderstood.
I don't think there isn't anything like that in the game, is
No, there isn't, but that's what I thought you were suggesting.
Yeah. The only thing that's possibly even close to that is Braxis in the mercenary camps being uneven, and sometimes like you're running Sonya and you're like, oh man, I really hope I'm on the right side because I have access to the fire bats.
Yeah.
Fire bats? Hellbats. Hellbats.
Hellbats, because they're in walk mode.
Yes.
Yes.
Because they're Hellions.
They're transformed Hellions.
Right.
Fire bats are the humans in fire marine suits.
What Blaze is.
Yes.
Correct.
That's what Blaze. Blaze is a fire bat. Yes. Let's move on to Malfurion. Apparently also needs a little help to be more competitive with other healers in this game. They're reducing the cooldown of his entangling roots by 2 seconds. This terrifies me. More roots more often scares me. They're also reducing the mana cost by a factor of 10, which is always the first place my brain goes. Anytime we look at a cooldown reduction, I'm just like, how much is this going to eat into my mana? Well, not as much as it used to, so it should more or less balance out.
This win rate wise and perhaps just healer power creep wise should be happening. But it kind of feels like they just announced, hey, we noticed Butcher's win rate's a little low, so we're buffing him. And you're like, well, what? Why? Don't go buffing Butcher. That's weird. He's fine. And that's how I feel about Malfurion. When I am ahead on Malfurion, all my roots are godly, my heals are infinite, and I'm amazing. When I'm behind on Malfurion, there's not a thing in the world I can do. And everything is getting burst beyond any control I have. So by making the roots better, I'm like, ooh. But I never really want to be in that losing Butcher scenario with no meat. I think Malfurion's fine when he's winning. I don't know if this helps.
Well, I mean, it won't hurt.
No, it certainly won't hurt.
Also, Innervate, 5 seconds off of Innervate's cooldown. Innervate is down to a 25-second cooldown, Kyle.
That's pretty good.
That is very good. That is such a strong piece of utility. I mean, it depends on your comp, right? Like, if you have a mana-efficient comp, then it's kind of a non-issue, but God, I love Innervate.
The basic ability cooldown refresh 50% faster for 5 seconds, and that's a part that gets forgotten about it pretty often. We're all like, nano boost the Malthael, go. Maybe Malthael would like an Innervate once in a while.
Maybe he would, Kyle. I would, as a Malthael player. Let's talk Junkrat. The dev said that from a balance perspective, his recent changes have been fairly successful, and that his talent and pick win rates are in a much healthier spot. These follow-up changes are meant to even out his talents and slightly increase their power level. But he also got some baseline changes in his health, a little more healthy on the Junkrat. Going to take an extra hit or two to bring him down because his health is going from 1350 to 1425. So, noticeable. His regen went up by roughly the same percentage as well to compensate for that new. I don't know. He's been lifting, man. He's not quite like Artanis, who I forgot to make my joke. I was going like Artanis, more like Armanis with this new.
Oh yeah,
Purifier beam. But yeah.
Well, during the Game of Thrones, we all had Artanis the Manus going because the Stannis thing,
Yeah, oh yeah, because when I think Artanis, I think Stannis, one of the dullest characters.
Artanis is a little, he's a little Optimus Prime. People like Optimus Prime, but he's a little dull,
He is a little dull, yes.
I'm more of a Starscream fan because I just love how he has at it, No matter what, he's always trying to betray Megatron. Megatron never learns his lesson. Starscream never learns his lesson. And I just find it endearing.
Yeah. So anyways, as far as talents, what was referenced in the actual developer comments, Boom Pow at level 4 is having the cooldown reduction increase from 8 to 9 seconds, so a little bit of a buff there for Boom Pow. At level 7, Big As, I always have to pronounce that very slowly, the armor reduction is being increased from 10 to 15. Now this is still up against Sticky Wicket, Kyle.
Yep. And that's the popular build. Still, Q build
two and a half second silence is pretty powerful.
Yeah. Q build is still most popular across like the board of all leagues. But where I'm battling it out, Trap build 100% and Sticky Wicket over time, over the past couple weeks, has greatly overtaken Big As a control feature.
Mm-hmm.
Something really interesting, and perhaps accidentally genius or on purpose again, is that the health increase allows you to use Dirty Trickster, increasing the total damage of total mayhem by 20%. And while stunned, rooted, or damaged by an enemy hero while below 50% health, you drop your 5 grenades. Having a health increase allows that to be a little more valuable. So it seems like they're not really saying Junkrat has an overall health problem. It's that our level 7 talent diversity is pretty bad. And by increasing the health, we'll help them a little bit overall, but we may get more people taking Dirty Trickster. It's still up against Sticky Wicket, though, and that's going to be the real sticking point of balancing Junkrat going forward.
Yep. And then damage has been increased on Rocket Ride. They're really trying to get us to take this. Maybe one day we will.
I mean, Puckish Scamp is adorable, where you get Riptire and you can exchange between the two on cooldown. But I've gotten to see Extra Oomph at play, which gives you a cooldown reduction of 25 seconds per each enemy hero hit. Well, all you got to do is hit 3 heroes and you are just chaining tires. And that's oppressive. That's really a lot of pressure. And you can pop that thing on the front line. You don't care what you hit at that point. You're just applying pressure between Q cooldowns. I don't think you did it yet with Rocket Ride.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on to Li-Ming, also having her health increase, not by a ton, but she's also a lower health hero, so it is, it is impactful. 1232 up to 1270. The regen has been increased by roughly the same percentage. But what's more interesting is we're seeing a bacon / buff, Kyle. Astral Presence at level 1 has been removed, and over on Force Armor, it now has additional functionality that mana regeneration is increased by 100%. Sound familiar? Sound like Astral Presence to you? While below 35% maximum mana. Previously, Astral Presence was while below 25% maximum mana. So now you can have more mana still in reserve before this kicks in.
Smart again. What do you do when you have no mana? Well, you're sitting around and you usually get excited and fire a magic missile. So putting your talent that let you cast near infinite sort of, well, you're going to panic cast magic missiles let's put that on force armor, which is tied to firing magic missiles. I really like that. Though Li-Ming haters are a little upset about Triumvirate getting a baked-in also refunds 40 mana if you hit that max range Arcane Orb. Mainly because it's not very dynamic play. If they are hitting their long-range orbs or missing them, that's on Li-Ming. Now, if she doesn't run out of mana doing that, doesn't the bad Li-Ming keep playing poorly?
One could make an argument that if you have more mana to take more shots, you will take more shots and improve because you are gaining more experience with each shot taken.
That's a true chance as well.
I mean, how do you get better? You're gonna practice. I don't know. I think that's looking for something to get grumpy about.
Totally. I think it's more just that Li-Ming isn't in the thick of it, getting resets and being that Triumvirate lowers you cooldown. You're getting a cooldown reduction on a trait-based hero that is about resets. You should be focusing on being aggressive and getting resets.
Now, if yes, if that's the dissenting opinion you want to put out, I agree with it.
That's the one I added on top of it.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Is that Triumvirate? I think teaches you just to play Li-Ming wrong, which is passively, safely. Get in there, land your auto attacks, get close enough that you're actually hitting your magic missiles. The orb is that thing you catch them with as they go to retreat.
Yeah. Or in the opening fight, you feel sweet because you got a big hit on Titus as he missed him.
You open with it, then you go in, you get close, you do a bunch of damage, and then you end with it.
So, I declare that Calamity should be baseline, though its damage should be poopy.
Unless we are going to have a come-to-Jesus moment on Li-Ming and she is going to get a rework that renders her so different than we know her now, I am 100% with you. Because the only other thing I can think of is a rework that takes her in a direction I don't know. But if we're going to continue playing these little minor tweak games with Li-Ming, I think I'm with you. I think it's time Calamity becomes baseline because it has, as far as I'm concerned, that is the proper way to play Li-Ming, and it's time to just rip that Band-Aid off and add it to her base kit.
You are up against Jaina. That settles this conversation. If you take Li-Ming, we can't do Jaina in most cases. You are robbing the team of a closer, of a ton of pressure, and someone who's in the thick of it later on. Calamity is what allows you to interact with your trait in a controlled way. I'm trying not to mention that for some reason, every single Li-Ming I see right now in Masters is going Disintegrate. I don't know why. I love it personally because I'm doing Fanaticism Johanna and I just zoom ahead because it's tiny dot damage on me. I don't know why you're running that. Because you should be Wave of Forcing into your Calamities. You should be a badass, or you shouldn't be Li-Ming not at all. A little strong. I love playing her too badly. I do it in quick match. Calamity, I would love if we take Dominance, put that on the Calamity talent, and let's make Calamity deal 8% maybe more damage, or have some other effect if you want to augment Calamity further. But let's teach people to play Li-Ming a little stronger from getting out of the gate without a required level 7 talent.
I have nothing more to add. I agree with you entirely. Let's talk about nerfs and the big old gulp I audibly made when I was looking at patch notes on my phone while traveling because I saw Rexar's name in this patch and I was like, well, this isn't going to be good. There's no way it's a buff. And it wasn't. However, I think it's fair. I think this is totally fine. Also, it doesn't really impact my play. But Mend Pet, the mana cost has been increased by 5. It's even 60 mana now to mend your pet.
For a moment.
What?
Because when I play Rexar, I'm constantly out of mana.
This will affect me. This will affect all Rexars. This is a baseline ability, right?
Yeah.
None of us are gonna escape this. So yes, you are going to run out of mana. You know who I really want on my team? Malfurion.
Okay. Yeah, the Milk and Cookies man himself.
Exactly. I can heal my pet and keep myself as Rexar for the most part out of danger. I don't really need burst healing all that much, so since I already have my own heal over time rolling on Misha, you can throw another hot on top of that as Malfurion. That Misha's never gonna die, and I'm never gonna run out of mana. I love having Malfurion with me when I'm playing Rexar.
All right, we could also do a rejuvenation potion from Deckard.
We could.
Malfurion is the milk and cookies. Deckard is those wafers.
You could also just cool your jets. Like, what are you doing charging in the lanes? You don't get bonus damage anymore. What are you doing? Easy prey? Why? You don't get extra damage against lane minions. We haven't for 3 months now. Just save your mana. You should save your charge for when whoever you're solo laning against gets a little hot in the pants. And then that's how you get yourself a kill, and that is worth the mana. You will buy yourself the time to get the mana back.
So easy prey nerf from 200% to 150 on mercenaries and minions ain't got you down.
I see this as the biggest non-issue in the history of non-issues in Heroes of the Storm. The meta we're in right now, the way the heroes that everyone picks, Kyle, I'm not really taking Mercs on Rexar.
Yeah.
People would rather have me in the solo lane, and I've got Falstads out the butt going by and taking mercenaries for me.
That's fair.
I don't need the solo lane. Flare, cast range increased by 15 to 25. I'm actually excited about this just because I am still waking up in a fever sweat thinking about that Valera from last week.
On Dragonshire, top lane Rexar can put a flare in that middle bush right above the dragon channel.
Yeah.
From the gate.
Listen, Zeratul constantly goes in and out of the meta, right?
Yeah.
This is a decent pocket pick when you need it. And if that Valera cheese that we saw last week ever becomes mainstream, we're all going to be taking Flare.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it does have no cooldown. It's out for as long as it cools down lasts. I should have Englished that better before I started, but you got the gists. The cooldown is the duration.
It's there until you decide to move it, basically. And then level 4, this is the one that will actually affect me and basically all Rexar players because we are all taking Hunter-Gatherer. The bonus healing regeneration has been reduced by 1.25 to an even 1 per second per regeneration globe. However, maximum stacks have been increased from 20 to 25. It'd take a little bit longer to get there.
Okay.
And again, this is something that does impact me. It's going to impact every Rexar player. But I think Hunter-Gatherer, I think we need to, we as Rexars are so strong. We are such a force in the solo lane. We should have to work a little bit harder, a little bit longer to complete this quest. This is not a difficult to complete quest for Rexars.
No, you have a pretty easy job zoning out somebody from their orbs and collecting 2 at a time.
Yes.
Why not? This is the way.
Misha Charge makes it so easy. Just makes it so easy. And that's where you use your charge if you don't think you're going to get a kill, just to secure an extra orb. Because you know what you also got off of that? Mana back from the orb. So it was totally worth it.
You know what I'd like to see is Grizzled Fortitude get a spell tied to it. Because right now it's every 6 seconds you gain a stack of block at level 4 for 75 physical armor. And with all the Mal'Ganis I've been playing, I've learned the power of characters that have to do a little bit of walking to engage. You avoid so much poke damage out of the Hanzos and Rainers while you get into position. If you could also control Grizzled Fortitude, maybe if you use your heal, your Mend Pet, you both get a stack instantly, just so you had something to pop on purpose.
That would be interesting. I don't know. I always think we all kind of don't give block the respect it deserves. Because if you've ever looked at block win rates on any hero that has them, they are always in the green. But
I think block talents are lagging behind on a lot of heroes. I think Johanna Reinforce with that 60 armor is not a block talent. That's just a handsome ability. Arthas, his is tied to 5 seconds. Yeah, it gets 3 charges, but Mal'Ganis able to use his W and control when he has one and get more in the middle of battle is just such a league above everybody else. Anytime Necrotic Brace hits an enemy hero, you get one of these stacks. And that's beautiful. That's how a block talent should be.
Yeah.
On top of getting it every few seconds.
Yep. But overall, again, I think this is fine. I think this is fair. Rexar's really good. He's so good in so many situations on so many battlegrounds. So this doesn't surprise me or make me all that mad. Let's talk about off-build action, trying to get us to take some different talents in this balance patch. And let's kick it off with Varian, and I'm not going to go into every single talent that got adjusted here, but Taunt had the health and health regeneration bonuses that I constantly forget they even have in the first place, increased from 30 to 40%. This is creeping. Right. This is creeping, Kyle.
Yep. Twin Blades had its basic attack damage reduction further increased, meaning you're having lower attack damage by 25 now rather than 20. So you're getting your faster attacks. It's dealing less. They're trying to push people away from Twin Blades as the primary pick. They mess with Overpower a little bit. They want you to be looking at Lion's Heart. Lion's Heart just needs something else on it. Really, the healing has been increased from 50% to 75%. But why would you do that when your second wind is based off of your total health?
You wouldn't, and you're still not going to.
That's the weird thing about it. Basic attacks heal Varian for 1% of his maximum health. While below 50% health, they also heal him for 50% of the damage dealt. So Furies love it because they're always below half health, and they're attacking a lot. Taunts love it because their health maximum is very high. We have not made a competitive level 7 yet. I am curious about one. I love Overpower. Overpower when you parry a hero basic attack. Cooldown refreshes and deals 40% damage bonus. That's handsome.
Well, now it does 40%. It used to be 30 again.
Yeah. We all go High King's Quest because it's good with everything.
Yes. Yeah. But maybe you now start looking at Overpower if you know what way you're going to be building.
Yeah.
It's that one's interesting. I'm with you there. But some interesting changes here. I like Taunt getting buffed. That was always kind of my go-to with Varian. When I was playing Varian on the regular, it was because we needed a tank and we needed a really obvious shot call. And that's exactly what Taunt provides.
Yeah.
So I, as a pro Taunt Varian, I approve this message. Anna.
Wait, does Varian not exist because Uther tank exists?
Yes.
Because, like, when we see a Genji coming at us, and we've already got a Brightwing, nobody goes, Taunt Varian. Yeah, Taunt Varian. All right, Taunt Varian. You go Uther. Uther.
I would say, but if Uther's banned or take it, but he's not that contested of a pick.
Yeah.
It's very rare that you find yourself in that situation. But if you do, know that Varian performs a pretty similar service to that Uther.
Call your Varian today.
Call your Varian today and ask if not picking Uther is right for you. On Ana, they said she was one of the heroes most affected by the movement speed change a few patches ago. That does not surprise me. And they have been waiting to see where she stabilized at and are now ready to give her some buffs to help bring her back where she should be on top of some small baseline healing increases. They wanted to remove the awkwardness of the way Vampiric rounds ask players to constantly target swap after 5 Shrike stacks. And so let's see what they did here. Shrike, the healing from Shrike damage has gone from 50% to 60%. It's a lot of percentage creeping in this patch.
Yeah.
In a good way, methinks. Vampiric rounds had the bonus Shrike heal from stacking 5 doses changed from 1.5% to essentially 0.75%. And then they added a second reward, which is increased Shrike's heal by 0.25% for every basic attack against heroes that have 5 doses. So now you don't have to constantly target swap, as they mentioned in the developer comments.
Getting somebody up to 5 doses warrants you a bigger increase total for that final shot because it's not 25, it's 75. And these are points. But if you wail on the same target and you do it 3 times in a row, 3 attacks, less than 5 attacks, you'll be going faster. So you still want to stack on multiple people, but it's a cute addition. You've also got your level 4 overdose to get those stacks rolling up to 4 doses. So Ana is being pushed towards some talent diversity if you are feeling the Vampiric Rounds play style. Most people still do Grenade.
Yeah. They also want you to take another look at Slumber Shells because they've added functionality that it also reduces the cooldown of your sleep dart by 4 seconds on top of the slow upon waking that it always provided. I know you've historically not been a fan of 25% slow, so they seem a little bit better now that we all move a little bit faster, but it's still a minor slow in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it's not horrible. And if we're doing a Ana sleep build and investing in full sleep, because we're running a Garrosh or a Li-Ming to frame things up, that's not bad. Garrosh gives a throw, gives a stun. On the other side of that, there's still 2.5 seconds of 25% reduced movement speed. Someone wakes up, let's say, with that orb, the character you slept, they're still slowed and framed up for your magic missiles. There's a world where Ana might be your frame up, setup support.
Yep. Let's talk about Kira. Because according to the devs, she's in a pretty healthy spot. But they did want to address finishing touch because, in their words, it is outperforming her other level 1 talents. And so they have modified the functionality of finishing touch and now you will gain 50% basic attack damage. And when you basic attack a hero below 50% health, you will gain an additional 15% basic attack damage and 35% attack speed for 3 seconds.
By messing with this talent, they are empowering all of Kira's other basic attack talents. They want to make that build more competitive. She's not seen at all where I'm hanging out. Just doesn't bring utility, but she is a seductive pick in lower leagues because people like big city damage.
Yeah, she really fell off a cliff for me too. I just kind of became Kira Ghost Town where I'm at.
Why not be Zeratul?
I'm with you. And then there's some other retooling going on in this balance patch. Like Lily, for example, Hindering Winds has been moved to 13, and the slow duration was actually increased, went from 1.5 to 2 seconds. They talked about Hindering Winds being, in their words, too effective compared to the other options at 4. And I love that they said this. Rather than nerfing it into oblivion, quote, dev comments there, they're swapping its position, and I like this approach. Is something really popular? Is it really overshadowing everything at a certain talent tier? Well, instead of ruining it because maybe it's fun, maybe it's the way we want to play, let's put it on another talent tier where we just have an actual contest between the talents that we want to pick. And in its place, Surging Winds has gone from 13 down to level 4, and the cooldown reduction went down from 3 to 2 seconds to compensate for how early you can get this now.
I love it, though. Now 13 is a required wind pick, which may not be the most, elegant thing on earth, but it totally works.
That's what I call shopping for beans.
Yeah. Wait, what?
A required wind
pick. I agree with that
without
understanding.
When I'm shopping for beans, it's a required wind pick. It's a fart joke, huh?
Okay. I thought you were gonna I'm up in Seattle, so I was like, I want to.
Oh, you coffee nerd! You're damn coffee nerd.
Like, damn, you're shopping for beans. I'm like, you know what? I do go buy the little boxes there at Fred Meyer, and pull out the little. I got my little scoop, and I'm getting my whole beans from my grinder. And my espresso machine. All
right, well, my joke wasn't funny, but our misunderstanding is, so I'm chalking this up to a win, as well as this change. I like this with Lily. I would like to see more of this than just nerfing things into oblivion.
Yes, please. Surging Wind. You gain spell power for 10 seconds if at least 2 heroes are hit. Please. Hit heroes with your wins, Lily. Stop lane clearing with your wins. Heroes hit the blind Lily. We need it.
And the little bit of damage.
Yeah, if this means that even a simple change like this, people read Surging Winds and they get to 13 and they go, oh, this should now be hitting heroes. This is a huge win across the board in all leagues for the support town.
Yeah. That'd be good to see. On Morales, they said that Prolonged Safeguard was not a very exciting talent to pick, and its increased duration bonus was redundant against Vanadium Plating's duration increasing mechanic. They decided to consolidate these mechanics onto one talent and explore offering an entirely new mechanic for the other. The replacement, which is called Meta Drone, a new talent at level 7, gives a limited amount of multi-targeted healing, something Lieutenant Morales was previously lacking and often requested in feedback from the community. So yeah, that new talent, Meta Drone at level 7, allies with Safeguard receive 50% of the healing done by Healing Beam on other targets. That is awesome.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then Prolonged Safeguard got rolled into Vanadium Plating, has the new functionality of increasing the duration of Safeguard 1 second while the target is stunned or rooted. Safeguard's armor value is increased to 50.
It is a blow to Vanadium Plating because previously it would pause the duration if they were stunned or rooted. That would be your mosh pit. You throw out a Safeguard, that's armor the entire mosh pit duration, and all the CCs piling on them would continue to give that great big armor. So with 1 second plus, it's better in more situations. Meta Drone is really seductive. You're not wrong to be excited about it. There are some situations, it's hard to work with the heal beam because the person you want to be shielding is often the tank or the melee who's really deep, and you're back here beaming the Vala. And now you need to maintain your beam on Vala while also diving deep enough to get the Safeguard on that deep front line. And it normally breaks your beam. And you don't actually get any advantage out of taking this talent anymore. So it's comp dependent, but it's really hot, you know? And later on you can get 2 charges of Safeguard. So there's a world where like multi-healing Morales can be a thing.
I would like to live in that world. That would make me want to play Morales. Because it would make me feel more involved. Like I have more control over the fate of my team. Let's talk about the final hero adjusted in this balance patch, which is Whitemane. It has been a sore spot for a lot of the community, for lack of a better word. Yes. They said that they have been actively listening to player feedback on the recent rework. They are making some changes. They did, however, say that overall her talent tree seems to be in a much healthier spot. And so, yeah, this is probably the vaguest of remarks here. So what they are doing is they have increased Whitemane's basic attack damage, which kind of confuses me. Again.
Go on, though.
Yeah. But Clemency, the mana cost, has been removed. Kyle, it's been removed. The additional functionality is it now removes 1 stack of Desperation. And Inquisition at W, additional functionality, removes 1 stack of Desperation.
Whitemane's got their minigame back. And to sweeten the deal, a cherry on top, they added a trait button to Zeal, activate to increase your spell power by 25% and reduce your armor by 25%. So you got a bake-in of everybody's favorite talent, Risky Business. Whitemanes are very happy. I saw so many Whitemanes this week. They are back in force. If you are a Whitemane player, you have a level 75 Whitemane and a level 4 Lili to back it up. Whitemanes love Whitemane. And giving them back some control over their desperation really sealed the deal. So well done Blizzard. You think you didn't hear much on the Reddit because they're all too busy playing Whitemane. Like no one complained, no one mentioned the change because they're all playing Whitemane again. So it totally worked out.
Everybody in the pool, it's back open.
Yep.
Yeah. And so, my goodness, this talk basically took the entire episode. That was meaty.
Yeah.
That was meaty. And so we're gonna basically wrap it up here. That doesn't mean we don't want you to keep writing in. If you want to be a part of Into the Nexus, write in to itncast@gmail.com. That's where you can send your emails. If you're a patron, Make sure you have your Discord information attached to your Patreon account because you will automatically gain access to the Into the Nexus Patreon Discord, and you can ask us questions right there. Skip the inbox entirely, and I would recommend you consider doing that because you also support the show in the process. So, Kyle, while we're wrapping this up and thanking our patrons, check it out. Patreon.com/ITN is where you go. Also, huge thanks to our producers, Declan H., Cheesy Bob, Chris K., and Robert M. Thank you for your support of Into the Nexus and being our producers. Typically, you can catch us live Thursdays around 3 p.m. Eastern Time on twitch.tv/AMoveTV. The live streams are basically not happening for the month of October because I am traveling, and by the time I'm back, it's time to get right back on a plane and go to BlizzCon. And have we talked about this? Sadly, Kyle, you are not coming to BlizzCon.
No, I haven't mentioned on this show. I will be fathering it up and not abandoning my poor wife for BlizzCon this year. I'll be watching at home. Please, as I've said in the past, this time, give Garrett the huzzahs. So, Garrett, I request of you, if someone walks up and says huzzah to you, that you give them the handshake with the wrist clasp.
Wrist to wrist.
Yes, Renaissance Fair style, because I won't be there to receive or give huzzahs this year.
Okay, I will gladly receive huzzahs on your behalf.
Thank you so much.
Sounds like some bad street name for a drug in a comic book.
But with a huzzah, you literally could not exchange drugs or money in any way.
No, I just mean saying like huzzah. It's like, the huzzah is taking over. It's all over the streets.
No, wait, it'd be even better because if you were both wearing bracers, you could slip it inside the bracer of the other person at the same time. Oh man,
I mean, if we're talking about like we're D&D, like we're trying to come up with the way. I'm a big Breaking Bad fan, but I want to bring it into a D&D campaign. There you go.
Yeah.
Done.
Got your moon juice or...
I am the one who huzzahs.
Exactly. There we go.
We figured it out, Kyle. No, but seriously. Hell. Also, the meetup this year, we're changing it up once again. There's just too many parties, Kyle, and also there's too many of us not going. But Katie, Jocelyn, myself, probably Patrick Bejan, some other folks, will be partying it up at the Marriott on the final night of BlizzCon. For the time being, we're calling the official start time 10 p.m. Eastern because we don't have a BlizzCon schedule yet. We don't know how late it is going. So
wait, today's Friday, right? Oh my God, yeah.
We don't know, man. We don't know. This is getting pre-recorded for next week, so maybe by the time you're hearing this, the schedule has actually been released. But at the time of recording this, we don't know. So the final night, Saturday night of BlizzCon, head on over to the Marriott. We'll either be in the lobby or we'll be directly back behind the lobby bar in the patio area outside. Just come find us. Come hang out. We'll get some snacks, get a drink if that's your thing, and we'll have a good time. And if we decide to change the time, we will alert you via the various podcasts that A-Move puts out. But Kyle, before we leave, where can people find you?
You can find my stream where I play Storm League Live at twitch.tv/Kyle Fergusson. That is on Tuesdays and Wednesdays starting at 12:30 Pacific time. You can also find everything else I do and all shows I do over at kylefergusson.com.
I'm Garrett Art on Twitter. This podcast and everything else I make can be found at amove.tv. Go check out The Angry Chicken. We'll have a new episode. By the time you're hearing this, a new episode is up. Go give it a listen. Let's Talk About Star Wars has new episodes coming out. There's all kinds of stuff going on as Katie walks into our Airbnb room. Hello, honey.
Hello.
How you doing? Just outroing the show.
Okay, I come bearing boxes.
So folks, if you've been following me on Twitter or Instagram, we lost 2 lug nuts and broke 2 studs on our car, and so we now have a care package from Amazon of new lug nuts and a torque wrench so we can keep an eye on how tightly torqued our lug nuts are.
Congrats on your nuts, Garrett.
Thanks. Congrats on my nuts is what Kyle says.
Excuse me, they're my nuts.
Oh, congrats on Katie's nuts. Sorry, they're for her car, not mine.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Katie's got a package that I think of like 5 new nuts. And anyway, that's what just happened. We're outroing the show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Kyle, thank you for dealing with my crazy travel schedule, dude.
Absolutely.
You're a good friend. And that's going to wrap it up for this episode. So best luck in your games, everybody. Whitemanes, you're probably not hearing this because you're just too busy partying. But until next time, good luck and have fun.
Take care.